Okay, I'm here today with my friend Mitch Purgason. One of the reasons these interviews are so much fun is I get to reconnect with people I care about. I won't steal too much of your thunder, Mitch, but I remember you because you were probably the first person I ever saw wear a blazer with like gym shorts back at the very first space retreat. But anyway, introduce yourself, tell the people who you are, what you do, and then we'll dive into some of the questions.
Sure. Hey guys, Mitch Purgason. I am a supply chain resourcer and clothing designer. I help brands set up their supply chains, and then I set up mine, which is the fun part of what I do to be able to create clothing that I am passionate about, that I want people to rock, and that I rock myself. And I work with a good bit of athletes in NFL, NBA, MLB, golf, and got the privilege of meeting Austin about 5 years ago.
Wow.
First space retreat in Gatlinburg, and actually met a lot of good friends from that first one, and I've kept in touch with all of them. And so that's been a really valuable retreat, and I still think it's the best retreat we ever had because not and all of them were great, but I think it was there was people that came on a couple of others that had come before, and so I think there was expectations and kind of comfortability. Literally, no one knew anyone on the first, and it was just so like, what's going to happen, where we're going, and then all of us just were like, heck yeah, that's awesome, and it was great. So thank you for organizing that.
Well, it's fun, and you bring up a good point, which I think may have actually contributed to your success in what you do. It takes a certain personality to be able to just show up at a lodge in the mountains and be like, hey guys, here I am. But speaking of, talk a little bit about, how you approach sales. Obviously, you're outgoing. You'll show up at this retreat knowing almost no one there. But talk about your approach to sales, personality, whatever else comes to mind.
Yeah, I'd say my approach to sales is don't be salesy at all.
That's good.
I have zero process when it comes to writing. Like, I'll write clients' names down that I think would be great. Great clients that I want to work with. I'll write clients' names down that are connected to people that I want to work with. And honestly, that's about it. I'm in the back of my head, I have a list of people I would love to work with and continue to grow my business as a type of client. A certain net worth, a certain type of vibe, really loves clothing, likes to travel, needs clothing for travel. My biggest competitor in the space, and this is the main reason why I've taken this approach, is the most salesy, let me call you 9 times, let me hard close you, let me do this, let me do that, ever. And I've had so many clients, and they kill it. They're a $400 million company. But, they've got, I think, 1,500 sales reps nationwide.
Wow.
But they really piss off a certain type of client. The reason why I know that is their top 30 clients in Charlotte all work with me now. And the biggest reason was, one, the quality wasn't quite there. It was inconsistency with their product. And that just depends on the sales rep. So it's not really the fault of the company. But, they're hiring sales reps to sell fashion. I'm a fashion guy that happens to have to sell my clothes. So there's a little bit of a difference there.
But an important difference.
Yeah, it's just I have to do it to make a living. They do too, but they have a sales background. I don't really. And so I think that makes a big difference. But it's been slow growth with that approach. But it's also been, I'm a huge fan of Darren Hardy, I think, the compound effect, and maybe I messed his name up. But, there's no telling. if you have a certain process when it's really going to explode, maybe it's 1 + 1 = 2, + 1 = 3, and then it's +9 the following year. And you know, that's a really good example of what I've done. I've never annoyed people. Most of my clients will tell you I've never asked them to buy anything from me. And probably my best client now kills it, you know, runs a bunch of businesses around the city. I met him, and he worked with my competitor, and I know he worked with my competitor. He knew what I did, and I knew he knew what I did. But I never once asked him to buy anything. I hung out with him 7, 8, 9 times. You know what? He'd ask me to come to a charity event, support charity. I'd come. I would, you know, never do anything that was kind of like, oh, I know why he did that. He did that so he can sell me clothes. And then 3.5 years later, you know, he hit me up. He said, hey, I've had some inconsistencies with this. I just want to try you out. And, you know, it's basically ended up spending about, you know, 100 grand with me, very organically. And that's not grand total. That's 100 grand a year.
Wow.
So obviously a great client. And, you know, when he introduces me to his friends, he says, he's not going to annoy you. You can introduce him to your friends. And that's the biggest part right there. He is very willing, and most of my clients are very willing to make introductions for me. 1, because I never annoyed them. 2, I never annoyed them with follow-up. 3, you know, the product is on time, it's quick. So I think, you know, knowing your product and being confident is one of the biggest approaches to sales that's efficient and works. Knowing your product's going to work. If you don't work for a company that you're not really a huge believer in the product, I'd say leave that company because it's limiting your growth potential.
So true.
And then, the only other thing, my approach to sales is relationships. You know, like staying in touch with people is, you know, it's happy birthdays, it's congratulations, it's, you know, it's random things of thank you, like thank you for this referral. You know, not immediately after, but 4 or 5 weeks after. You didn't have to do that. Here's this thing on the house. Stuff like that. So it kind of creates a culture of, you know, reward and thank you and gratification. And when you create, I think a sales process that's based around gratification, not being annoying, making sure your product speaks for itself, relationship driven, and always getting it done organically, I think you're going to, you know, it takes a little bit of a while because you can't hustle people and you might start slow, but, you know, if you stick with it, it's going to compound a lot faster than the other way around.
There is so much good stuff, and I have so many follow-up questions, but let me recap, and then you can tell me if you're like, yeah, that sounds about right.
Yeah.
You didn't get into sales because you love sales. You sort of backed into sales because you love fashion and you needed a way to make a living. And slowly but surely, you built up a network, not because you're out there networking, but because you're showing a genuine interest in people. And it sounds to me like you aren't just forming relationships in order to have a chance to sell something to somebody, but you're forming relationships with people you like for them. Like you like the people. So it's, you don't have an angle as much. It would be good if you sold something, but is that accurate? That you're forming relationships with people you like?
Yeah, for sure. You know, I work with a couple of NASCAR guys. One of my favorites is Bubba Wallace.
I've heard of him.
He's a great guy. And I don't think he'd mind mentioning his name. But him and his girlfriend Amanda are great friends of mine, and I've never once asked Bubba to buy anything from him. And I probably never will unless, you know, I know he's got a wedding coming up, or, you know, like, hey, buddy, like, check this out. Let me know what you think.
Please let me do this. I'd love to be a part of this.
Yeah. No, it's super casual. You know, me and him, I think it's a great relationship thing. We play video games together. You know, we do a lot of funny things together, and I do the same thing with George Kittle and Rob Tanya with the Packers. We just hang out. Like last time I went to Nashville, and hung out with George and Rob. I didn't sell clothes. We just hung out, and, broed out, talked about life, and kind of hung out with their families. It's cool, but that's been with Bubba and Rob and George. It's been like a 4 or 5 year process of just gaining their trust, not being annoying to them, coming through when they need stuff last minute, collaborating with their significant others. It's a process when you buy clothing. Your significant other has to approve because you're dressing
Weigh
for
in.
them.
That's right.
So I think that's a big thing. Like George's wife, Claire, is so freaking awesome. She loves fashion. She's so much fun. She's so welcoming and friendly. And same with Amanda and Bubba. Amanda will text me ideas and we'll go back and forth with Bubba's birthday presents and just stuff like that. So I think it's really fun to really be involved with people's lives as much as they'll let you, because certain people are really private. But that's, once again, that's a 5-year process. I've been friends with them for a while, but I consider them really close friends for the last couple of years. And so, it's just not being annoying, but like prime example, George needed a suit in a week for a 49ers event like 3 years ago, and I got it done, and it was kind of a reassuring thing for him, I'm sure, that, oh, wow, I needed something really last minute, and it got done. So I think also that separating that personal side with business of like, when it's business time and they're giving you a chance, locked it.
Knock it out of the park.
Knock it out of the park. Add something extra. Don't overcharge. Undercharge sometimes when you even should overcharge. And what I mean by that is like, a rush fee for a suit is, it definitely makes the suit more expensive because you got to get it done faster. But if you charge it for them, throw in a shirt or something like that. Like, hey, buddy, I hate charging you more than retail price. Try to give me more of a heads up next time. But here's something that goes great with your outfit. It's a minimal cost. And let me know what you think. So I think that stuff like that gains trust. Being very open and honest about what it costs. Certain things. Like I texted George the other day. I said, hey, man, I have a really cool idea that I think you'd be really excited about for this suit. It usually is $400. I figured out how to make it only $200. We don't have to do it, but I think you'd really like it. What do you think? Let me know. And he appreciated that and let's do it. That's awesome.
Nice.
So
bringing ideas to him, but after you've already built the rapport. Something you said that I think is really reassuring is you don't have to become the high pressure 9, 12, 15 follow-ups type of salesperson to sell something you care about and are confident in to people that you like and want to stay in relationship with. And I just think that's going to be good news to a lot of people who end up watching this video or listening to the audio down the road, because I do think we have all of these examples of salespeople that we don't like, and it's really easy to start believing that story that says, well, I'll never be successful at this because I'm unwilling to become that. And what I heard you say is, no, I've done it my way, in a way that jived with my personality and my values and how I want to treat people. And yes, it took longer, but I've been able to see that compound effect over time.
And I think the other part is sometimes people are on such a schedule with sales. With certain clients, you can't be on a schedule. It's like, you can tell them like, hey, I have to be somewhere by this time. But if you're about to have a conversation with them, talk to them. Don't rush through it to get to the sale. Don't be fake to just make money. A a lot of times they're going to want to talk to you about other stuff. And so I think one of my favorite clients is Marcus Smith, who's a great mentor of mine. And he runs a lot of, CEO of the Speedway Motorsports. And he's just like, I think of him like Aslan. Honestly, like he's just he just embodies good.
That's cool.
But he's aggressive and he's fun and he's done a lot of stuff to change the sport of NASCAR. And I'm really proud of him. And it's funny for me to say that I'm proud of him, but it's just fun to see. And he'll talk about ideas and he'll give me a lot of great ideas. He's got a very creative mind when it comes to marketing and he owns the speedways and he decides on a lot of stuff. But he has to basically become a promoter for NASCAR. And that's what he is. He comes up with ideas. He was the person behind the reason why the Bristol track was dirt this past year. And he's come up with the road courses and really tried to try new things. So I think he's a great example for me of just, taking a different approach. People think NASCAR's, left turns only. And he's like, well, let me think more about that. People think sales is hustle and follow only. Well, let me think a little bit more about that.
I love it.
I think a lot of times, too, people associate hustle with how many times you've done something. And I think that's a terrible idea. I don't think Gary Vee necessarily does that, but I think people that watch tidbits of his videos will take away, like, hustle. I got to hit 10 emails. 10 emails is hustling. 100 emails is hustling. It's like practicing baseball the wrong way. If you have a terrible swing and you take 100 at bats, that's not hustling. That's
so good. That's a genius
practice.
Analogy.
And so I think so many people that are my age specifically think hustling is being slightly annoying. You're a hustler. It's like, no, that is a terrible idea. A real hustle would be understanding someone's personality when they need something, when to follow up about what they need something specific to the event they probably need, not doing it in an annoying way. Maybe if they're busy, following up twice in a funny way. But also, like I have this really funny client, and this is so stupid, but kills it, big executive. His name's Davis. He's just one of the funniest people I've ever met. Like, straight up. But he kills it. I mean, his family runs a $6 billion company, probably bigger than that. I don't know.
Wow.
It's massive. I think it's way bigger. I think it's probably a $100 billion company. They run, 63% of the cotton industry in the world. Say, and he is so freaking funny though. He kills his job, and he just has like a hilarious thing with me. And he's like pumped up about closing a deal. He's wearing my threads. It's just like silverback mentality, and we just send each other gorillas, like a gorilla emoji, and it's hilarious because it pumps me up too. It's so dumb, and I think that's the other thing is sometimes people are so professional. And your client's just not, and he is, but he's not at the same time. Like he wants to have fun. Clothing's fun for him. Now, business is 100% professional. He's closing a deal. He's James Bond. But when he's having fun, because clothing's a fun thing for him. He likes to joke around. He likes to come up with ideas. He likes to be bold. He likes to do things. So my follow up with him, even though he's an amazing client, and I like to do business with him. It's way more casual. It's more like a hype up speech. Like Davis, like you look like a freaking silverback in this blazer.
Which someone else would be insulted, right?
Yeah. And silverback basically, just gorillas. Like gorillas beat their chest. They're the kings of the jungle, basically. You could say lions are, but gorillas are. And it's just, it's just like, like I did that. And so that's what he means by that. So I think that's the other thing is sometimes people overthink like a process because they read a book, and it's like at the end of the day, this client might be the best client you ever get, and it might be the most casual relationship you have.
So
Just because
true.
they're an amazing client doesn't mean you've got to be so uptight and professional and timely in this. You still should be timely, but your best clients might be the funniest people you ever meet, and they have that type of relationship. And so I think the correlation of hustle with annoying needs to get out the door, and with high end and just boring and professional, and that needs to get out the door too.
Mm-hmm. Because they're people. And so one of the things that I heard you say was you are not a sales guy, you are Mitch.
Yeah.
And you want to work with people who want to work with you. And you're not drastically changing your personality in order to get a sale, which I do think takes confidence, because I think sometimes when things aren't going well and we start to second guess ourselves, it's pretty easy to be like, well, gosh, like, do I need to be that guy with the high pressure tactics? Like, am I cut out for this? So 2 questions for you. You know, one, when you have felt less successful or when you weren't closing sales, how do you stay positive? And number 2, can you just share some of the more creative ways that you do keep in touch without becoming annoying, faking it, changing your personality?
So I think that's something I'm still figuring out too. I don't like hitting up people to buy stuff from me. I like posting things and casually following up, and I do need to get better at that, which is why I've got more casual products, so I can follow up in a more casual way. Because just asking someone to make a $2,000 purchase from me is not a casual conversation.
That's right.
That's where my suits start out at, right around 1995. So that's one thing is I wasn't making a ton of those last year, obviously, because of COVID. So I was like, all right, this is pretty obvious. I'm not going to ask people during COVID to buy a suit. And there's probably going to be another dry spell where there's not enough events or other things with other things happening in the future where I'm not going to be able to, once again, follow up in that way. What does that tell me? I need more casual products. Great.
Good.
Create casual products, follow up more casually. That could be, something you push more during seasons where stuff's down. So one, think how I can be more productive in another way when I'm not making sales of the stuff that pushes the envelope, such as suits. So that's step number 1. 2, the follow-up of just not being fake and being annoying. Like I said, I'm still kind of figuring that out with certain people. But I have a really good relationship with a bunch of PR people with big brands, and so probably the bread and butter of what I've done is develop relationships there. And I have 5 products basically that I can gift anytime I want for free.
Okay.
And it's 0 time, 0 cost for me. I just text, hey, I need this delivered here.
Wow.
And it's a great way to send, people stuff, even if I don't work with them. It kind of is a barrier breaker. Like, wow, this dude sent me shoes. Great. And I don't have to send them shoes. And they know that. And they're $500, $400 shoes at Nordstrom.
Wow.
So it's a great value add. And that's the overarching, themes. How can you do a value add without being annoying, where you kind of create this relationship? It's like you did something and you asked 0 in return.
Generosity. I think you're going to be the only person I interview who sends other people shoes. But it's so perfect and apropos for what you do, and it's remarkable. I mean, it will cause people to remark, right? Like, what? Like, I just got a pair of shoes. And I still think no matter where you get in terms of business success, financial success, it's still cool when you receive a thoughtful gift.
For
you know
sure.
what I mean?
And I think the biggest point of that is I know not everyone's going to be able to gift shoes, but how did that start? Well, that started because I added value in the past to people that are in PR positions. I developed relationships in the same organic way with people that have the power to make those decisions to send people shoes, and not just one person, 10 to 15.
Nice.
That was done by going to Fashion Week, going to New York, being intentional, taking people to drinks, taking them to dinner, and now it's a priceless value. Shout out to my girl Brooke, by the way, for NG Agency. She's a big helper for that for me, and it's great for their brand. They want certain people rocking their bags, their shoes, their sunglasses. I want people to get something for me that's dope, that's desirable, and it's a value add that starts off the relationship in a great way. And I ask for nothing in return. So I think that's the theme. It's not being able to send shoes to people, because that's not realistic for everybody. It's not even being able to send something for an agency. It's think about how you can develop relationships with people that are similar to you. They want similar things. You both can help each other out. And eventually, maybe it makes sense, maybe it doesn't. You come together to help each other out. And, a mutually beneficial relationship that helps both parties increase their sales and, social media awareness, that's great. And so that's the relationship. Same thing with the sales process. That relationship process has driven that, and that process has helped me drive a better value-added relationship with my clients.
So good. So, again, remarkable. And I love what you said. Focus less on the dollar amount of a gift and more on the posture of generosity and mutually beneficial relationships. One question before we start to close down. Do you have fun with this? Like, is it important to you that you have fun?
Yeah. I think I'm also I say this in a funny way, I'm a short man, and I also have a short temper. And so I think there's this story that I'm creating, and I'm just like the happiest person of all time, and I just add value. I'm so generous and all that stuff. I get really mad a lot too, with cheap clients or cheap potential clients. Like my buddy, he's a real estate agent in Wilmington, and I'm not trying to hate on him. I love him to death, and I won't mention his name, but he's got a terrible appearance, and he kills it. And I've never once sold him, but he wears ill-fitting clothes really bad, and he kills it. And I really think if he cleaned up his appearance a little bit, and I'm not talking crap, he could kill it even more. He's a real estate agent for luxury properties at the beach, and in my opinion, and this is just me because I'm also in clothing, I would probably never buy a property from him the way he's dressed if I didn't know him. Obviously he's very good at what he does, and he is. But I'm just thinking that out loud. He hit me up 3 or 4 times to measure for a suit, and my base price suit. And this guy makes probably upwards 500, 600 grand a year, so it's not an issue of money. All 4 times, nothing. Measured him with your stuff. Well, we'll close this deal. I'm like, all right, dude, whatever.
Yeah.
And then, fifth follow up for him. Hey, man, I think I might pull that trigger in the next couple of months. And I just straight up told him, I was like, hey, you're full of shit. And so
I don't believe you.
I took him off guard, and he was like, oh, you talk crap? I was like, dude, you're my boy. I love you. You're very good at what you do. But I have wasted more time with you than I spent selling my $100,000 a year client. And I was like, I just don't believe you're going to do it. I said, I think if you did, it would really change your appearance. You'd have something that fits. And I think you'd think a little bit differently about how you can build the next step of your business. And so I was just so straight to the point. And he's a little bit more of a casual beach personality. So to be honest with you, I don't know how well it went over. I don't know if he'll ever buy a suit from me, and personally, I don't know if I want to now.
Right.
So I think there's also that point of not letting. Well, I want to mention that because generosity is great, but I also have gotten a lot better at just don't waste my time.
Yeah.
Like, hey, I love what we're doing. I'd love to help. You need to make a decision. And some of that's happened, some of my summer sets too. They're like $120. And guys ask me, like, oh, it's a little steep. I'm like, great, I'll sell it to someone else. Don't worry about it. So it's also got to be like, that's me. That's what I'm saying. That's Mitch. So I enjoy the fact that whether it's being slightly more aggressive in terms of being honest with good friends about like, hey, this really would change your perception.
Right.
Which in my opinion is generosity too, because you're giving advice, from a friend perspective.
Right.
And so I think I had to say that before you finish, because I think the whole like generosity all the time and so nice and everything, sometimes you've got to flip the switch.
Yeah.
And you've got to say, stop wasting my time. This is why this would be great for you. If you don't want to do it, no worries. This is the last we'll talk about it.
Yeah.
But this is the last we'll talk about it.
Such a good bookend, and I'm really glad you emphasize that point that we're not talking about writing blank checks of generosity. It's, yes, you have a short fuse. That's part of your personality too. And we can laugh about that. But in a way, it's important for a lot of people to know that your approach to sales does not involve being a doormat. And it's okay to tell people no. It's okay to say, here's the line, if we start the conversation again, you need to buy, because I can't keep on putting time into this relationship if the respect doesn't flow both ways. And so I think that's like a really good place to end is, yes, you can sell in a way that's very consistent with your personality, but you still always want to work with people who are respectful and value your time and aren't going to keep stringing you along. I could tell you any number of stories of prospects who, they send you the email and you roll your eyes because you're like, yeah, this is the time. Sure it is. Right. Yeah. Oh, we're finally going to do something together. Sure we are. But I really appreciate your wisdom, and it's always so fun to hear your stories. Gosh, we barely even scratched the surface, I know, but thank you for your friendship, and I'm excited about the future for you. There's a lot of good stuff that's happening.
Thanks, man. Yeah, no, I appreciate you having me, and sorry if I rambled. Things that happen, like I said, I get going, I get kind of aggressive, but I think for anyone else that's just kind of figuring out the process, the last thing I'll say is make sure it co-aligns with your personality. Don't do things that do not make sense for you. Get out of your comfort zone a little bit, but at the end of the day, if it's forced, it'll feel forced, it'll look forced. And that's pretty much the last thing I'll say.
So good. What a great way to end. Mitch, really appreciate you, love you, and thanks for everything you shared today.
Love you too, brother. Appreciate it.
See ya.